There are places in the universe where light has never touched. Not because it never tried, but because space itself outpaced it, running faster than light could ever hope to chase. Imagine that. A boundary not made of stone or fire, but of absence. A moving edge. A vanishing line on the horizon, forever unreachable. If you listen closely, you might hear it. Not a sound, but a pressure in the silence. Like the air before a coming storm, only colder. Thinner. As if reality itself were holding its breath. I've often wondered what it feels like to stand at the edge of something infinite. Would it be awe? Terror? Or something stranger? Like being inside a thought that suddenly stops thinking. The stars wouldn't look different out there. They would blink, whisper, shimmer the same. But there would be a pull in your bones, a wrongness too quiet to name. Because beyond that shimmering veil, the rules might break. Or worse, they might simply end. The universe, we say, has no edge. It curves, it stretches, it folds in ways that mock the geometry of our minds. But minds are stubborn things. We reach, we ask, we imagine a last frame in the film strip of time, a final pixel in the cosmic picture, a horizon that isn't just far, but final. Somewhere out there, maybe the laws of physics are different or absent. Maybe there's no out there at all, just a blank beyond the last light. I dream of a room with one window, and outside that window, nothing. Not blackness, not shadow, just nothing. A clean silence like glass that's never been breathed on. That's what the end of the universe might look like. Not death, not fire, just a halt. The last flicker, the final still. A frame so quiet it forgets to move. We talk about the Big Bang as a beginning, but what if it's also a wall? What if this whole reality is a ripple on some larger pond, and our edge is just where the ripple fades? If that's true, then maybe the edge of the universe isn't where we stop, but where something else begins. Something we can't name. Something that doesn't need stars to burn or time to tick. And maybe, just maybe, it's listening. I once thought that space was empty. A black ocean speckled with lonely lights, waiting. But that was before I learned that space itself breathes. It stretches like skin pulled over a growing drum. Galaxies don't just drift apart, they're being carried, like leaves on a rising tide. The farther they are, the faster they vanish from view. It's not that they move through space, it's that space moves between us. Space expands. There's a number etched into the bones of our cosmos. 46 billion light-years. That's the distance from here to the farthest point we can ever see, even if we stare forever. But that number is a trick, because what we see is not what is. The light from those distant edges began its journey when atoms first formed, long before Earth was dust. And by now, those ancient photons have arrived. But their source? It's gone. Or rather, it's elsewhere. Farther now. Always farther. Scientists call this the particle horizon, the outermost shell of causal connection. A limit not just to sight, but to influence. Everything beyond it is a ghost. We can't touch it, can't signal it, can't ever know if it still exists. And yet we see it, or rather what it was. The universe is like a house of mirrors, except the reflections are 15 billion years late and still running. But that's not the only edge. There's another, closer one. Stranger. The event horizon of the universe. A boundary not of the past, but of the future. Beyond it, no signal sent today, no pulse, no beam, no call, will ever reach us. The expansion outpaces even light itself. That's not just poetic exaggeration. It's measurable, real. It's as if we're on an island, and the ocean around us is rising, slowly swallowing everything we once knew. If you could freeze time and fly at the speed of light, you still couldn't reach past this boundary, because the space between you and it would keep growing, like chasing a finish line that moves faster the closer you get. This is not a metaphor. This is the structure of reality. This is how space behaves, and what lies beyond these horizons? More space, more galaxies, more silence. But they are lost to us. Forever. Even now, the light from them tries to reach us, and fails. There are stars whose photons will never arrive. Suns burning in the dark for no one. They are not dead. They are simply gone. The universe, it seems, is not infinite in the way we imagined. It is infinite in heartbreak, in distance, in isolation. Not a seamless expanse, but a mosaic of vanishing rooms, each sealed by the speed of space itself. And we are locked inside one of them, watching the edges fade. There's a kind of horror that isn't loud. It doesn't scream or burn or break. It just drifts away. One by one, the galaxies are leaving us, not by choice, not by will, but by inevitability. The space between us grows faster than light can bridge, and so they vanish, not all at once, but in slow, silent succession. Like the lights of a city blinking out from a mountaintop too far to follow, too dim to hold. We think the night sky is eternal, but it's not. What we see above us is a fading photograph, taken in a time we can never touch. The stars we know are already retreating, slipping across the event horizon like dancers stepping behind a curtain. One day, the only galaxy we'll see will be our own. The rest will be memory. The rest will be myth. I sometimes imagine a child born 1 trillion years from now. They'll look up and see nothing but black. No constellations, no Milky Way, no cosmic clues, just a lonely sky. To them, it won't feel empty. It will feel normal. Because how can you miss a thing you've never known? To them, the universe will be small, still, silent. And they'll be right. And they'll be wrong. Even now, the stars are saying goodbye. The photons we catch in our telescopes, those last signals, they come from suns that will soon be unreachable, and perhaps already are. We are living in the twilight of the cosmic age, and we didn't even notice. But this isn't the end of something, not yet. It's the beginning of forgetting, the erosion of context, the slow collapse of our connection to the whole. If we are anything in this universe, we are witnesses. We are here to record the moment when the sky begins to close. And it is closing. Quietly, irreversibly. Imagine running toward the edge of a cliff, but the cliff keeps extending ahead of you, faster than you can move. You never fall, but you never arrive. That's what it means to chase the horizon in a universe like ours. There is no edge, and yet, everything ends. The tragedy isn't that we're small, it's that we're late. The universe bloomed before we could see it. And by the time we learned to look, it was already scattering. We are archaeologists of a living cosmos, brushing dust from the bones of stars still burning, but too far to hold. And as we stand here, surrounded by vanishing light, we're left with a single, piercing question. What else have we already lost? There's a kind of space that no light crosses. Not because it's dark, but because it never began. Beyond the edge of the known universe, there may lie regions where time has no rhythm, where particles never collided, where nothing ever formed, not even darkness. A place so still that even the laws of physics forget how to speak. We imagine the end as a line, a boundary, a wall. But the universe isn't built like a room. It's more like a thought unraveling. And maybe the end isn't something you reach, but something that stops reaching you. The moment when connection ceases, when you are no longer part of the sentence, just a space between the words. If you floated out far enough, farther than galaxies, farther than radiation, beyond every signal, you wouldn't find a view. You'd find subtraction. Temperature would drop, not to cold, but to meaninglessness. No vibration, no fluctuation, not even zero. Just blankness, like the air behind a scream, the pause after the final note. And in that stillness, the universe might loop, curve back on itself like a breath drawn too deep. Some theories suggest the cosmos is a hypersphere, finite but unbounded. No edges, no walls, just endless curvature. If you walked forever in a straight line, you'd return to where you began, never noticing the turn. Like ants on a glass ball, blind to its shape but loyal to its illusion of flatness. But if that's true, then the universe has no beyond, only within. And that, somehow, is more unsettling, because it means the silence isn't out there. It's here. It's already arrived. We carry the boundary in our direction of motion, in the very definition of perspective. Wherever we are becomes the center. And what fades away was never really ours to begin with. Sometimes I think about entropy not as disorder, but as a soft unraveling, like threads loosening in a sweater until the pattern disappears. Stars die, energy spreads, temperature equalizes. The universe doesn't collapse, it forgets. And the end won't be fire. It will be evenness. Nothing left to fall toward. No contrast, just a final featureless calm. And yet even that is a kind of shape. A final state. And that means it still belongs to the universe, still counts as something. But what if beyond that, there's truly nothing? No coordinates, no vacuum, no canvas. What if there's a place not where matter ends, but where existence itself was never invited? Would we even know it if we saw it? Could a mind born of causality comprehend a region without time? Or would it feel like drowning in still air, trying to grasp something with hands that are no longer hands? I don't have the answer, only the weight of the question. And in that weight, a silence that feels familiar. Sometimes I wonder if the universe is less like a place and more like a question. Not one that seeks an answer, but one that keeps asking itself. Over and over, in starlight and silence, in motion and pause. And maybe what we call reality is just the part of that question we're able to hear. A sliver of its echo, a single flicker from its fire. There are theories, speculative, beautiful, terrifying, that our universe is a bubble. One among countless others, suspended in an eternally inflating sea. Some expand, some collapse, some never ignite at all. Ours burned bright for a while. But even a bubble must burst. Not violently, but inevitably. Not with sound, but with forgetting. If that's true, then what lies beyond the edge isn't more space, it's something else entirely. Something without dimension, without form. A region where time doesn't pass, because it doesn't need to. Where cause and effect are as meaningless as color to the blind. No rules, no rhythm, just otherness. A place where physics dissolves into metaphor. And here's the cruel poetry. We can never touch it. Not because it's far, but because it doesn't belong to the same grammar of being. Our tools break, our language fractures. We ask the question, and the silence answers with itself. No contradiction, no hostility, just a void shaped like a shrug. But perhaps it's not a void. Perhaps it's fullness we can't comprehend. A saturation so dense that to us it looks like nothing. Like trying to see a color our brains were never wired to process. Maybe that's what the end of the universe truly is. Not death, not collapse, but saturation, completion. The moment when the painting is finished and there's no more canvas left to stain. And yet, we reach. We map the fading microwave echo of the Big Bang. We parse the faintest shifts in starlight. We dig into equations that bend space-time into knots, hoping they'll unwrap into a larger truth. Maybe that's the most human thing about us, that we chase edges even when we know they're illusions. That we ask what lies beyond, even when the answer might be nothing. Or worse, something we'll never be able to hold. Something that burns brighter than comprehension and slips away the moment we name it. A shape glimpsed only in the moment before waking. A law that refuses to be written, and so we circle it again and again. The unknowable, the unreachable. Not because we expect to catch it, but because we don't know how not to try. There's a photograph I can never take, not with a camera, not with a telescope. It's a frame that exists only in my mind, a view of the universe from the outside, from nowhere, from the place that has no place. I see the stars like nerves in a sleeping brain, the galaxies like thoughts long cooled, and everything. Still, not frozen, not paused, just complete. As if motion itself had exhaled, as if the story had told itself fully and the book had closed. Not with a bang, not even with a whisper, but with a kind of quiet so deep it rewrote silence. I imagine this moment comes at the end of everything. Not when stars die, not when black holes fade, but after that, long after. When entropy has ironed out every wrinkle, when heat no longer flows, when there is no difference left to measure. The universe will be smooth, not flat, not curved, just indifferent. It will have nothing left to say, and maybe then the edge will reveal itself. Not as a wall, or a fire, or a fall, but as absence, not even a border, just a place where context ends, where the math stops working, where perspective has no anchor, where light, if it could exist, would have nothing to reflect from, where being itself goes dark. But here's the strange thing. I'm not afraid. Not exactly. There's a beauty in limits, in knowing that even infinity may have contours, that the music we are part of isn't endless, but complete, that it has a final note, and that we, fragile, fleeting, foolish, were lucky enough to hear part of the melody. So I sit with that image, the outer stillness, the completed frame, the soft click of a cosmic shutter, and I wonder, what if it happens not at the end but all the time? What if the universe ends every instant and begins again in the next? What if this very moment is the edge,